Hi everyone, Linda from Let's Talk Prepping. And I want to ask you, are you ready for what is coming? And with that said, no one really knows what's coming. You can listen to me, you can listen to all the prepper channels, but no one really is exactly sure of what is coming. But we can read the signs and make educated guesses. So unless you are one of the people who's going to be taken to the underground bunker when something happens, or you know military high commanders or people in the government, you probably don't know any more than I know about what's going to happen for sure. But we can make those educated guesses. So we want to prep for what we think is most likely and prepare for that. And I want to read you a quote from Mike Adams, the Health Ranger. He said, "The next step is for the U.S. to evoke a strong emotional reaction among U.S. citizens in order to rile up emotional support for World War III. To accomplish this, watch for a modern-day Pearl Harbor event to be carried out by elements of the DoD. It will be a bloodbath. They will sacrifice Americans so they can win public support for war escalation against Russia." So that's what Mike Adams says, and I really think he's probably right. But will it be a false flag or will it be something real? It really doesn't matter, because if it's a false flag, we still have as much devastation, and if it's something real, a war is going to occur. They're going to use fear to try to control the people and whip them into that frenzy to make them want to have World War III. And we can't stop what's happening. We can only adapt to it. So we must adapt and we must start prepping for it. And it doesn't really matter if it's a war with China or a war with Russia. They want a war. If you see all the news articles, you're going to see a lot of tanks, U.S. tanks that are going to Ukraine, and that could provoke the Russians into doing something. I believe if it's a false flag event, it's not going to be an EMP, because they don't want to wipe out most of the country's electric grid. Then they won't have people to make the supplies they're going to need. So if it's an EMP, it's probably not going to be a false flag event, and it's probably going to be from the enemy. So I want you to think about what shortages there are going to be. If it's a war with China because of Taiwan, you're not going to get the computer chips. So what do you have that uses computer chips, then you might need? If it's the supply chain would then be disrupted. So anything you buy at Walmart won't be there anymore. So just think about those things and try to prep now. If it's a war with Russia, maybe we'll still have some of those things, but maybe we won't. You really have to stop and prepare. Right now, if you've seen my couple of my short videos, I've been prepping for heat by looking at what I have for wood. I have the Kindle cracker, and I just got the jaw saw so that I can now harvest some more wood if something happens and we don't have electric or I don't have oil because of a war. You want to prep for food. You want to get as much food as you can. But what you really want to do is learn to garden and harvest your own food, because your supply is going to supplement what you're gardening. You can't really live on what you have, whether it's 3 months, 3 years, 6 years, whatever it is. You're going to need to supplement that with your own gardening. So you're going to need seeds and fertilizer. And remember, wars are not short. If we have a war, it's not going to be a few months or a year. It's going to be years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever, and then the aftermath of it. So you're going to have to learn to supply for yourself to become self-sufficient. Have you seen in the UK the food shortages where they're rationing some groceries items? Well, can you expect that to stay in the UK, or will it come here eventually? That's the question you have to ask yourself. Will there be rationing here? Definitely will be if there's a war. So we need to keep an eye out on what is happening around the globe to see how it's going to affect us. We know there's a shortage of fertilizer. So if you're going to have your own garden, which I assume you are, get out there and get fertilizer. Or there's a YouTube channel called Garden Like a Viking, and he gives you tips on how to make your own fertilizer from things around the house. So you might want to go and look at that so you know how to grow food from what you have around you. The other thing you should do is if you say, oh, I live in an apartment or I don't have any room to grow food, then you should find the farms around you. You should go out and look for farms and farmers, and then try to figure out what you could barter with them. What could you use to trade, to get honey, to get eggs, to get vegetables? And then stock up on what you could use to trade, even if it's just small things. I just mentioned bartering, and I want to take a quick detour into bartering because so many people will say, I can't afford to buy stuff to barter with. And I'm telling you, yes, you can. Go to the dollar store and look at some things. Here are the things you could buy. Toothbrushes, toothpaste, safety pins, combs, brushes, bobby pins, clothespins, soap, needles, thread, safety razor. You could buy like cornbread mix, glue, duct tape, screws, nails. Instant coffee would be a great bartering item. Deodorant, hand sanitizer, scissors, can openers, those little nibs of alcohol. I guess they're not at the dollar store. But just walk through the dollar store. All kinds of little things you can pick up that in an emergency situation will be invaluable. So go for it, and let's continue on here. So start thinking right now, what could be the false flags and what will happen after it? And what do we need to do to survive, to live? We already have the train derailments where they're trying to poison the land. Was it truly an accident, or was it planned? We have the food plants burning. We have the bird flu. We have the threats of a new pandemic. So you've got to think about all of that and try to decide what you're going to do to make it through. So get out there, get prepped right now, get as much food as you can, get the seeds, get the gardening, get everything you need to be self-sufficient or to barter or trade. Get some kind of a skill that maybe you could trade so that you could have food, that you could have wood, whatever you happen to need. So that's it for now. Let us know in the comments if you have any more to add. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed.